Hi, I'm Pete Lund, VP of OT Security Products here at OPSWAT. We're at the ARC Industry Forum 2023. Jeremy, we just got done with a fantastic panel session. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the use case you were highlighting and the problems you were solving?
Okay, sure, Pete. We have global scale at Hitachi Energy, right? I've got service engineers in 90 different countries. I have 6 different R&D centers across just about every continent, and hundreds of developers and project teams on 3 or 4 continents putting together these large infrastructure scale projects. One of the biggest worries I have, and one of the biggest contractual risk I have to take care of, is to make sure we don't become a supply chain risk ourselves to our customers. So we're using MetaDefender Core to help us in that endeavor. So we use it all the way in the very beginning where we're building products. So as we import new source code, or we're downloading projects, open source code projects and stuff from GitHub, we're scanning them in our nightly build process to catch anything in that perspective. Then we use it in our final build for 2 reasons. One, the nice thing about the multiple engines is it uses the same engines as of a lot of our customers, so it ensures when we ship something, even if it's just a false positive, it won't trigger. The other reason we do it is just to make sure we're not including any malware as we ship out. And then it goes into even the next phase when I work in the grid integration division, and we build large scale projects, right? $500 million HVDC substations. We're using it there to scan everything as we build it to make sure, again, we're not becoming that supply chain risk and introducing malware into the projects from the very beginning. And then finally, we move it even into our service space where our service engineers are using it to scan files before they go out and make updates to customer sites.
Jeremy, I remember when we first discussed your problem, you were using a homegrown solution. I think you had maybe 1 or 2 AV engines that you were managing yourselves. It was quite time consuming. The teams weren't using it globally, consistently in the same way, and I know that was one of the big attractions from OPSWAT. Not only that, but the ability to do that multi-scanning, which does hit on some of those key cybersecurity requirements for your end customers.
Exactly, Pete. Yeah, so when we started, several years back, we decided to kind of take this supply chain risk more seriously, and so we started to require everybody to use 3 or more different engines to scan things. That sounded great until you tried to implement it in the real world, where now you have these 90 different service locations and 6 different R&D centers all trying to build and manage their own 3. By going with a product like OPSWAT MetaDefender Core, is now I'm able to centralize on one single server for the entire globe, for all of Hitachi Energy, not just my division, but the other 3 operating divisions as well. We all use it. All of our developers are building it into their pipelines, whether they're on Azure DevOps or any of the other build frameworks that we use. They're integrating it into their pipelines. All our service engineers around the world are able to access it and upload the files. The project teams are able to do the same thing. And it gives me real consistency. It allows me to control what engines are in place, allows me to balance it across customer demands across the globe. And I'm able to do it for much fewer dollars in support costs than I would if I was having to manage 3 or 4 different engines in all those different locations.
So certainly Hitachi, one of the companies that drove us towards the mobile kiosk, where be able to protect that last mile of the supply chain when those service engineers are on site, whether it's on an oil rig or in a substation in the desert or on a hot tarmac. That's where you can really ensure that the team doesn't drop the ball on the last mile there. Tell us a bit, Jeremy, about how you would use a mobile kiosk in the field.
Sure. So what I'd like to do is make sure my service engineers all have a mobile kiosk. Oftentimes they go to site and the customer doesn't have any anti-malware protection. Oftentimes they're literally in the middle of jungles or deserts or anywhere else. There's not a good cell reception or anything like that. So the fact that before they leave, they can go and they can sync up and have the latest engines and the latest updates, and then take that with them to site to prove to the customer that they've scanned. And then the nice thing is that with mobile kiosk is I now get to keep that record of that scan, right? And we're just using the customer's engine to scan. I don't get a record. So if some malware gets introduced to the system, I don't have any way to prove our due diligence side. So this way with mobile kiosk, I now get to protect myself as well, so that if it ever came to that, we would have the evidence that we did scan.
Thanks, Jeremy, for taking the time to sit down with me. And obviously for anyone looking for more information around the OPSWAT solutions, feel free to check us out at opswat.com.